You can support this podcast and get shows early and ad-free, as well as bonus episodes over at patreon.com/flashback64.
Thousands of years ago, in a battle with the fallen elder god known as Shinnok, I was responsible for the death of an entire civilization. To rid all realms of Shinnok's menace, I waged a war that plunged the earth into centuries of darkness and banished Shinnok into a place called the Netherrealm. Now, after Shao Kahn's defeat at the hands of Earth's warriors, Shinnok has managed to escape his confines in the Netherrealm. The war is now being fought once again. Only this time, it can be won by mortals.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Flashback 64, the chronological Nintendo 64 podcast. I am Gooey, joined as always by McKenna.
Hello.
And it's kind of, maybe it's like an end of an era. It's kind of a bittersweet moment as we're at Mortal Kombat 4. Yeah, we've been on a long journey here with Midway. And it's fighting games on the Nintendo 64, and it's 3D fighting games on the Nintendo 64. We're not done with fighting games, obviously, but this is maybe the bookend for what they were doing. I think I've looked ahead, and this is their last go at it. So, how are you feeling, McKenna?
I don't know. I've played a lot of fighting games. I feel like it's been less lately.
Mm-hmm.
Like earlier on, it was like we're playing a lot of arcade ports.
Yes.
I don't know. I'm not really sure what fighting games we have to look forward to, but
well, I don't want to spoil it, but you might even have memory hold this fighting game. But there's a lot to look forward to. But hey. Who better to have on this episode than someone who kind of helped kick off this whole journey? You may know him from the Squared Circle. You may know him. You may have seen him on stage with JFK Health World. We're welcoming back to the show our friend Connor Corr. Connor, welcome back to the show.
Greetings, Earthrealm.
Hey, how you doing today?
I'm doing just fantastic. I'm excited to talk about more Nintendo 64 video games with the best Nintendo 64 chronological podcast there is.
Yeah, you heard that, everyone out there? Yeah, it's great to have you back. You know, way back when we've been going 3 years now, and you helped kick us off on the Mortal Kombat journey with Mortal Kombat trilogy. So it's cool to be here now with MK4 and to have you here. So thank you.
Yeah, bringing it all back together.
Round 1.
Before we talk about the game, of course, I want to tell everyone what was going on at the time with our flashback segment of the show. So Mortal Kombat 4 released for the Nintendo 64, of course, on June 23rd, 1998. So in our timeline that we've been following, the chronology, we've only moved ahead 5 days since our last game, Mike Piazza's Strike Zone. We've had this a lot in our show. I'm just going to keep reiterating this. We're kind of in different eras where, there's a dominant song on the charts. And we're still in the era of The Boy Is Mine by Brandy and Monica. It's taken a 4th week at number 1. It's, of course, the number 1 single of 1998. Both
for good
Brandy
reason, too.
It's one of the best songs of 1998. You can't deny that. And they had this dual album, and the they both released their own albums that this single is on. And Never Say Never by Brandy debuts this week at number 3. It eventually peaks at number 2. And that has 72 weeks on the charts. So it's strong in both 1998 and 1999. And of course, the actual number 1 album this week is MP De Last Dawn by Master P, which takes it's got 2 weeks at number 1. But yeah, I don't know. While we're here, I like to kind of let people get in on, you know, some of the big stuff at the time. So it sounds like you're into The Boy Is Mine, and maybe Brandy and Monica, Connor.
Oh yeah, that's a great track. But here today, it's That Ninja Is Mine.
Okay, good. Thank you for that. I also thought it'd be fun. Soundtrack check. Soundtracks are dominant on the charts, and I went through the Billboard 200 at the time, and I wrote down every movie that had a soundtrack on the top 200, and I'm going to list them to you right now because I thought it was pretty, I don't know, I was like wild. I guess shouldn't be surprising, but from top to bottom, we've got City of Angels, Godzilla the album, Hope Floats, Bulworth the soundtrack, songs from Ally McBeal, Titanic, X-Files the album, I Got the Hookup, The Players Club, Can't Hardly Wait, The Wedding Singer, He Got Game, Streets Is Watching, Anastasia, Selena, My Best Friend's Wedding, Mulan, The Horse Whisperer, The Full Monty, Woo, Quest for Camelot, Boogie Nights, and Space Jam. Any of these bring thoughts or memories to mind, Connor?
Oh, well, who could possibly forget the Space Jam soundtrack? You know, I remember having a particular affinity for Godzilla the album as well. But
yeah, we've talked a bit about that one.
I think it's a Diddy album, so... But
you got
Rage
one of the
Against
big
the
singles.
Machine? Oh, yeah.
It's got the Rage song where they kind of talk shit on the movie in the song, which is cool.
That's awesome. They even got Bob Dylan's son on that one.
Oh,
the Wallflowers.
The Wallflowers cover. Yes,
That's
of course,
right.
of course.
Yeah.
We also mentioned it, but the number 1 movie at the box office was the X-Files movie, which I haven't seen because, McKenna, we've watched a bit of X-Files together. I think we watched the first season.
Yeah.
We're eventually I feel like that's something we eventually got to do, but
Mm-hmm.
X-Files always like freaked me out as a kid. And then when I did start watching it, it was like how you used to watch TV, like random episodes, you know, like I never had that chronological watch. And when the movie came out, I was too young. So like, I feel like before I watch this movie, I actually need to like properly watch the whole, like see the whole storyline up to it. I know, I don't know, Connor, are you a fan of this film or no?
Yeah, I like the X-Files, and I think, you know, there's like some plot threads that are woven in throughout the seasons, but X-Files really works best as a monster of the week type deal. And I was too young when this movie came out too. I think I've seen it before. I don't really remember it too well.
Yeah, that's how I prefer. I mean, that to me, my favorite episodes that I've seen of that show, I don't think connect to the overall plot with the, you know, the smoking man and all that. I like the weird ones with like, you know, the freaky guy who can stretch himself, or what's his name? What's the actor I love?
Brad
Dourif.
Yes, Brad Dourif. Oh, sorry, I'm so sorry for that. But yeah, like that episode with him is awesome. I don't think that connects to the mythos. Those are like the really good ones, you know?
Yeah, just give me Jack Black getting electrical powers and bullying kids at the arcade over whatever their conspiracy crap is.
Yeah, that's peak television.
2 FBI agents have just discovered
I can't tell you what killed this man.
the most dangerous conspiracy the world has ever known.
These men have been secretly negotiating a planned Armageddon.
Negotiating with whom?
And if they can't stop it,
We are close to something here.
we won't survive it.
Trust no one.
So much for little green man.
The X-Files, rated PG-13. Friday, only in theaters.
Speaking of peak television, I thought, you know, since you're in the wrestling world a bit, Connor, I thought I'd do a little bit of a wrestling update. We don't always do this, but, you know, I thought let's talk about what was going on at the Monday Night Wars at the time. So instead of like going over what was actually on the shows that week, I just thought I'd talk about like what the big thing they're promoting is. So over WWF, they are the upcoming weekend. They have the King of the Ring '98, which featured the big Undertaker versus Mankind Hell in a Cell, where Mick Foley got thrown off the top of the cell. And then on the flip side, the big thing going on in WCW, they were promoting Bash at the Beach '98, which was meant to feature Diamond Dallas Page and Karl Malone versus Hulk Hogan and Dennis Rodman. That was kind of their big storyline. So maybe
both
memorable.
Quality pieces of family entertainment, I would say. I'm all about Dennis Rodman. That's for sure.
Yeah, the Worm. Yeah,
we could have had more of him in the ring.
Hall of Famer now, yeah.
Hall of Famer, that's right. Chicago legend.
I did love at the time how they would incorporate him into some of the storylines, especially because at that time, he had recently done a movie with Jean-Claude Van Damme, and they did kind of play that into some of the storylines. And I think it was in 1997, but they would show like Hogan at the premiere of the Van Damme Rodman, was it double team, I don't remember, double something. But yeah, it's nice to have Van Damme play a role in the wrestling storylines.
Van Damme, inspiration for Mortal Kombat, incidentally, as well.
Of course, the movie starring Jean-Claude Van Damme and, of course, the newest member of the NWO, Dennis Rodman.
Round 2. Fight!
Mortal Kombat 4 is a 3D fighting game ported from the arcade version and is the first in the series to use 3D graphics. The game plays much like previous entries with punches, kicks, and combos, but adds a sidestep for some slight 3D movement. There's also a new weapon system where each character has a unique weapon they can bring out using a specific button combo. Fatalities are back, but the game leaves behind babalities, animalities, and friendships to establish a more serious tone. Game modes include arcade, team, endurance, tournament, and practice. Choose your fighter and take on the Elder God Shinnok in a war for the realms in Mortal Kombat 4.
All right, Mortal Kombat 4, developed and published by Midway, of course. Originally released in arcades in 1997. It was ported to N64 and other consoles by Eurocom, who also did the ports of War Gods and Duke Nukem 64, as well as other games, but those we've covered on our show.
You guys had to play War Gods?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
That's brutal.
it looms large in this episode. This also came, it was ported to other consoles. We can maybe talk about that in a bit. But yeah, maybe you mentioned it. Let's talk about it a bit. So War Gods and 3D fighting games in a whole, like we've seen a lot of experimentation with that on this on N64 as we've moved through it. And War Gods was the first 3D one that Midway published on the N64. And developed. They also published some other fighting games that were developed by like Atari and various developers. But War Gods, the consensus on that episode was that it was sort of, I believe it was our guest Jay who said it was sort of like a lamb to the slaughter, in that it was like something to get their feet wet to be like the first 3D fighting game, like a sacrifice to then lay the groundwork for Mortal Kombat 4. What do you recall about War Gods, or what's been your experience with it?
Yeah, well, that's exactly right, and I think that's why they wanted to make a game that they didn't have to attach one of their most successful IPs to necessarily, because
that's right.
It was more of an experiment, and they weren't sure exactly how it would turn out. What I think, it's in many ways an inferior version of Mortal Kombat 4. And when I think about it, it just has such a strange look to it. I always think of, I guess maybe because I haven't played it a ton, that I think of like how weird it looks.
No, it did. I can't remember what was there was like a terminology they had for like what they used to map textures in that. It was like texture skin or something like that. Do you remember?
I don't remember.
It was something they developed for this to put God, I'm not a technical person, but yeah, basically to texture map the models in that game. And I believe they abandoned that by the time they got to Mortal Kombat 4 because they were able to utilize more polygons and such. This is probably the worst explanation of that technology ever, but basically they developed a new system beyond what they could do with War Gods. So that game famously, it's loomed large in our podcast because it had the infamous 3D button. If you've played the cabinet, it has the big glowing 3D button, and that was like their first attempt to try to figure out how do we move in 3D. And Mortal Kombat 4 ends up going with something that Midway published a game developed by, I believe it was Atari, called Mace the Dark Ages. I don't know if you have played that, but that featured the system. I believe Dark Rift may have had this too, where it has the basically sidestep left and right buttons, and they went with that for this game.
Yeah, well, you mentioned that they're still trying to figure out movement in a 3D space, and unfortunately, by the time Mortal Kombat 4 rolls around, I'm not sure that they did completely figure it out. But let me just say, you mentioned its more serious tone.
Yeah.
Thank God we left the baby shit behind. Am I right?
Okay.
And that Mortal Kombat can finally be for adults again. We got rid of the animals and the babies.
I mean, this stuff that is like kind of behind. I don't know. Do you really think that affected the game that much? Because it was like you had to do combos to do these things, these elaborate button inputs. Like I think the average person playing Mortal Kombat 2 and 3 had these. Like, were you really going to even get a babality realistically? I never did a babality.
Yeah, well, now we have weapons. So babies aren't using weapons either.
I did like they kept sort of some of the, like, there was like the animalities in some of the fatalities in the game, at least. Like Scorpion turned into a scorpion.
Which sucks because it was so much better when Scorpion turned into a penguin. That was his animality in Mortal Kombat 3.
Oh, I didn't remember that.
Scorpion turning into a scorpion is far more on the nose.
Oh, hi. I didn't see you there. I'm Nick McConnell, and you caught me reading the instruction booklet for Street Fighter II in preparation for my weekly stream Instruction Derby, where I take a look at the creative, fun, and sometimes bizarre lost art of video game manuals. Did you know that, according to the manual for Street Fighter II on the Super Nintendo, Ryu was born in 1964, making him 62 years young, canonically? Happy birthday, Ryu. You're looking great. Did you also know that, per the manual for Laser Invasion on the Nintendo, the UN enters a conclave in order to select a new commando? Or did you know that the dancing enemies in Super Castlevania are named Paula Abgul and Fred Askare? These important facts and many more are discovered every Wednesday at noon Pacific on Instruction Derby over at internet website twitch.tv/Nick McConnell. Part of the Soundstone Network.
I guess if we're talking about the serious tone, McKenna, you had some thoughts on this. What did you think about like the quote unquote the attempted more serious tone they were going for with this game?
I mean, it's like funny to take out these just like totally optional things to make the serious tone when you have like all their endings, which are extremely goofy.
Yeah, I
think the endings are goofier than any of the babalities.
Yeah, there's always, I feel like there's always kind of a cheese factor in the Mortal Kombat games, and it's somewhat intentional. It's based on these, films that have these outrageous, it's rooted in some outrageous films and stuff like that. but it's almost, I don't know, it's almost kind of reversed. Like the violence in the original games is kind of silly, but I think because you have these like real, like it's these actors that are, you know, kind of portraying these characters, there is like a weird like realness to it, especially at that time. Whereas like I feel like the character models in this game, especially the N64 version, like look kind of goofier in a weird way. I don't know. It's weird. It's like goofy, but in like kind of the opposite way. Like, what do you think about like the 3D models in this as opposed to like the actors, Connor?
Well, I think it definitely gives it a unique look of its time, and there's something about the like the way like the blood looks in this game, where it's like this pixelate, like this like square blood that comes out of them. It kind of gives it a unique look. But yeah, it's definitely not as good as when they had actual actors. I mean, that was the whole thing with Mortal Kombat. What gave it its unique kind of tone and set it apart from other fighters and Street Fighter clones at the time. So, you know, looking back, like when you look at the series in totality, I kind of like it, but I'm sure, you know, if I see it coming right after Mortal Kombat 3, I might not be as eager, but I might be stoked on the new technology. So who's to say?
Yeah, I actually thought it kind of looked, at first I was like, it looked kind of weird, but then something I had read, or maybe it was in like one of the documentary videos we watched, was like for the console ports, particularly the N64 version, the
dynamic
models,
lighting.
Well, the models had to be simplified a bit. So I thought like when I played it on the arcade, it looked like they looked a bit cooler,
a little more
like
crisp.
They look, and they look a bit like rubbery figures or something in the N64.
Yeah. But I mentioned the dynamic lighting, and which was exclusive to the home console versions, and so in some ways the stages and the backgrounds actually were better on home console than they were in the arcade, even if the character models suffered. And all that said, I do think it is it might be the best looking fighting game on the Nintendo 64.
I think, I'm trying to think. I had sort of considered that. I was saying when I was playing it the other day, McKenna, I was like, you know, I don't know a ton about fighting games. Like I can't tell you exactly why one is good, like better than the other, especially when it comes to the tech. But like, I was like, you can just kind of tell this one plays better than a lot of the ones we played. And I thought, yeah, like visually, like the stage look cool, and like I think it overall works. Like, what did you think about like the look of the game and like the feel?
Yeah, I think I do like a lot of, like how the stages look, and even with the reduced polygons, I think the characters look pretty good. It definitely, like, I can tell it's not like one of the early N64 games. Like, it looks a little more polished up, like compared to like the 3D polygonal characters.
I would say too, like the art, like direction of like a lot of the backgrounds, like is very vibrant and pops. Like Connor, we were talking a few weeks ago when we met up at the arcade, like the different settings that Mortal Kombat has had, and I think you had said like the second one is probably your favorite. I think this one comes close of up till this point. You know, Mortal Kombat's 1 through 4. Like I think this one stands out to me because it's a bit more vibrant. You know, you've got these really, like there's the one stage with like there's like someone in like a green container that looks like maybe they're being tortured, or is like the fire stage, or the big blue face, you know,
the big eyeball,
the big eye. Oh,
big
the
big green eyeball.
Yeah, like each one has
the
like
blue face is great. They got face from Nick Jr. in a stage over on Mortal Kombat 4.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah, guest appearance. So yeah, I think that stands out, and like and it also translates, I think, like back into the gameplay a little bit. Like the best. I feel like the best success we've seen with a lot of the 3D fighting games in terms of like making them work is like, or at least it seems like a lot of them that we've played on N64, like they've had to try to make it run well. So they can't have too much actually going on. And so like a lot of them, I think of Dark Rift as one where it's like, there actually isn't really like the stage doesn't have a lot of depth to it. And you're really just like fighting in a big void, like a big empty room. And this, you can kind of tell that's how this is. And it's really like up to kind of the background to create like a feeling of depth to it. But I think they did a good job, especially because they would mix in stuff like things you could pick up on the stage and like throw at people, and like some stage hazards and stuff that even though they're off in the background, like if you can do a fatality and throw someone into a fan or on spikes on the wall, it did feel more like you were not just in this big empty void. But it still like did that while still like running well and playing quick. Like it never felt like sluggish or anything like that.
I think part of that is a consequence of it being a 3D game on a 2D plane as well, which it was kind of innovative. Actually, they stopped making games like that for a long time till like Street Fighter 4, and which was considered like a big renaissance and a return to form for fighting games. But it was in some ways ahead of its time in that respect about being like a 2.5D.
Right. I was curious about that. Like, what did you think about the 3D gameplay, McKenna? Like, it really did. I feel like to me, it's still kind of essentially all these experimentation. I feel like the thing they finally landed on for success was like, let's basically make it a 2D game. Right.
Yeah. I didn't I tried out the side steps, but most of the time I was just playing it like I would Mortal Kombat Trilogy, where I'm pretty much ignoring the 3D, the moving side to side. I don't know if that's because we've played other ones that have the side step, and like I've tried it in those, but I don't use it as much in those either.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a little bit more, but maybe I just kind of decided I don't need that. Yeah.
Nobody's got time for sidestepping.
You don't do it? Okay. I would wonder like people who play it at like a higher level, if that's like strategy they actually incorporate.
Yeah, there's some advantages for like projectiles, sort of. Some of it, a lot of it is for controlling space, because in fighting games, generally, you don't want to be backed into a corner. It limits your options. Mm-hmm. So that's one way that it is kind of cool how they use a 3D space, that it's like a 2D game where you can move to avoid getting backed into the corner. But also just the way, I think this is a consequence of it being like a newer 3D game, but you can kind of have a situation where both characters are trapped in a corner and like can't move. And so the side step is necessary then too.
We talked about that. We were on a walk earlier today, and we sort of talked about when we were playing through arcade mode, like on our own. You had mentioned like some successful strategies to beat some of the harder later game enemies, right? Or to kind of get them caught.
Yeah, I mean, it was mostly just trying to get them caught in some punches, because I felt like that was the easiest way to stun them and just get a lot of hits in. And I do that, and then kind of alternated a bit with jumping and kicking.
I
completely
had that
viable strategy, by the way.
I had that with when I got to Goro, who was like insanely difficult compared to all the rest, which I think I've kind of noticed like that's been a thing. I've kind of stopped, like early on when we started, I sort of judged like my enjoyment of these games on like how well like they'd allow you to be sort of successful, like not like easy, but like I would like think a game was more valuable if at home I could do like unlimited continues, because like I didn't mind the difficulty, but I wanted to try again so I could like beat it or what, like, get past that hard enemy. But I've kind of realized a lot of these, like towards the end, they will just throw in a boss or an enemy that's just like extremely hard as fuck. That's like so much more difficult. And that was kind of Goro in this game. And my strategy to beat him ended up being like how I would tackle a lot of these guys, which is fight them in a way that I would not fight any human that I'm playing. And instead it's just like jump, kick. And I would get him to the side of the stage. And then I would do the move where you kind of like grab them and like break their leg or whatever. And I would just like mash that. And I'd get caught in like a repeated thing where he gets
it's known as a throw loop.
A throw loop. Okay. See, I was doing some advanced tech here.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I would never, I was spending a lot of the lead up to him, like trying to get better at doing some of the combos and like special moves or whatever that the characters have. But yeah, it was like, I was trying to do that stuff against him and it was like worthless. He just hit me with one of his really powerful moves. I'm like, okay. But then that's where I realized like, especially because we played a different game that BioFreaks was a game we played that Midway did. That was a lot of fun, but its final boss was just impossibly difficult. But I loved the game. So I was like, okay, I'm going to stop judging these based on if I can beat arcade mode and just how much fun it is to play with other people in particular. But even if the gameplay is just kind of unique. So, and I ended up I really liking this game because of that. So
I do like BioFreaks as well. Yeah. So funny enough, so, the Mortal Kombat series in general is notorious for having these really difficult AI, and especially its bosses and sub-bosses were just completely cheap and broken. They would read your inputs, actually. So it's like completely unfair. So the way to beat them is, yes, you have to be unfair. Just spam the jump kick and get your uppercuts where you can. But what's funny is, and they did this for obvious reasons, with the business model for games being the way they were in the arcades, they're trying to extract quarters from you. But funny enough, Goro was actually a sub boss that was unique to the home console version.
Oh, really? Was there another sub boss like in its place, or
no? And Mortal Kombat 4 is one of the only ones. I believe it's the only arcade Mortal Kombat with no sub boss at all. That's why they had Goro on all the marketing for the home console version. He's on the cover of the Nintendo 64 one. They were showing off this new character. But it actually makes Mortal Kombat 4 for the arcade one of the easier entries. I'm not sure if you could say the same for the console version just because of that Goro sub boss.
It's so ridiculous. Yeah. That's interesting. I thought it was kind of weird, like the final boss being a playable character in the game. I thought was kind of strange too. Like that, it's usually like someone. So usually in a lot of the games we played, like you can't even unlock them or anything, or maybe like a Game Shark or something or a cheat code. But no, it's kind of weird. You could just play as Shinnok or whatever in this game.
Yeah, Shinnok is an interesting one. He's pretty subpar as far as bosses go. Maybe that's why they allowed people to use him. But on the N64, it's even worse because his trademark move freezes the game when he adopts someone else's move and stuff like that. I think it causes some technical problems on the Nintendo 64. So yeah, it's best to avoid in Shinnok.
It was kind of interesting because I think I believe this game in arcade, like the arcade release, this probably came out before Mortal Kombat Mythology Sub-Zero, if I'm not mistaken. Because I knew but on N64, I think it's reversed. So it was like, I thought it was cool. Like, I don't know, McKenna, if you had any feelings about seeing our guy Quan Chi again after Mortal Kombat.
The story ties right in. It's awesome.
Yeah. What did you think about the lore implications of this game?
How
he got the amulet.
Really strong feelings.
Totally. Yeah, McKenna, you can attest to this. When they pulled out the amulet, I was like, "Oh, it's the amulet."
Whenever I think of him, I mostly think about we watched the the actors and like
yes,
all dressed up, and like that is like what I think of when I see him,
like them hanging out and doing
like,
bloopers.
It's just like goofy. Just like so like everything that's going on with them is just has this sense of goofiness to me. Like I'm just watching these buddies acting stuff out.
That is something that I do think is kind of lost with this game a bit, is like, I don't know if there would have ever been a world where Mortal Kombat just continues to be scans of real people. I guess now maybe it's now games do a thing where they do want to convey like it's a real person. There was like more so than like in this generation and like the next, but I don't know. I feel like that is something that is a little bit more charming about those games, is like you sort of see the people in them, even if sometimes it's like this like same person will play like 3 or 4 different characters, like Sal DeVita or whoever it is,
Yeah, absolutely. It gave it kind of a homemade feel sometimes, and not just a homemade feel. It gave it like a personal touch, and you could like it didn't feel like an assembly line product. It felt like something made by the same group of people across different entries. But I know for me personally, most of my experience with this game came from the arcade. We had a great one at the McHenry Drive-In that I used to visit, that I used to love hitting up. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with they had the Twitter account about daily pics of Quan Chi on Mortal Kombat 4 arcade cabinet.
No, I have not.
It's a beautiful cab, and it has you might have missed Rich DeVizio as Quan Chi, but they got his mug real big on the side of the arcade cabinet.
I did see there was something on, people were sharing posts from like, it was maybe a few months ago or last year. This is a bad story because I don't remember any of the details, but there was like a convention, maybe it was PAX or something like that, but someone had a bunch of like small photos of Quan Chi that they were just like it was that photo, and they were like leaving it around places, and people were finding it. It's just an iconic look for a character, but since you're more invested maybe in the lore of this series, I would say, like, what do you kind of think about the story or like whatever going on in this game?
Well, first time Quan Chi was playable, we learned all the implications of the rivalry between Scorpion and Sub-Zero is forever altered after this game. That we learned that it was not actually Sub-Zero who killed Scorpion's family, but Quan Chi deceiving him, which is a fun twist. But now it's just been around for so long that it's like Star Wars or something, where it's like not even really a twist anymore.
Right? Yeah. And so much has happened in the series that It's always fun to look at these specific times and see like what was a big deal at the time, and that can apply to this whole game. You mentioned that like looking back at like this game at the time probably feels different looking back at it now. But I'm sorry, please continue.
I was just gonna say a lot of the new characters are kind of weak. I like Reiko, but
okay, yeah. I can't think of any
Tanya. But
the only one I was really kind of, again, it was just because of the connection, was the guy who was a boss in Mortal Kombat Mythology Sub-Zero, the like wind guy. I was like, oh, I know him from that game. Fujin. He like kicked my ass.
The new, and he's the, I believe, half brother of Raiden, and Raiden chooses him to be the new guardian of Earthrealm at the end of Mortal Kombat 4. But like, there's a lot of really crap characters like Kai, who is like just Liu Kang, but like more boring. So
I don't think I like any of the new characters that much, other than like, I guess Quan Chi is cool, but I don't know, McKenna, do you have a character that you gravitated towards?
I was mostly playing as Tanya and Sonya.
It was cool to see like Sonya more like she had like a special forces look or whatever. Like that was kind of cool. Yeah, sorry, Connor. Any other more thoughts on the lore or anything? Yeah, okay.
I mean, it's hard to talk about the epic storytelling of Mortal Kombat 4 without getting into the arcade endings, really.
Yeah, well, one other small note I would add was I thought this was like I watched a video that was like, the story of Mortal Kombat 4, and there was a lot going on, but it was all stuff that was and they used like photos of like from this other media, but it was like in comics and things like that that were probably released around the time that sort of fleshed this stuff out, and it was just really like it doesn't stand out. Like when you play Mortal Kombat, it's like it is kind of crazy because it's like a mix of all these different types of like movies and stuff that they're inspired by. But when you think about it, like in the comics, they're talking about like a treaty between the whatever Goro's race is and the centaurs, and all this stuff. And it's like it is this like crazy like science fiction world that I was kind of like it. I don't know. I don't know if I would ever get these, but I was like, I don't know. Reading the comics like from this time like kind of sounds sweet, like especially in that moment where you could read that and be like now I can go and like play this, and you can kind of like let your imagination run wild. It almost reminds me of like reading a manual to an old Zelda game where you get all this like artwork and storyline that you can kind of like project upon the game. But I don't know, Connor, did you ever read like the comics or anything like that?
Yeah, I've read a little bit of the comics. This was actually the end of John Tobias's contributions at Midway. So pretty much the original creator of Mortal Kombat and who's most responsible for the story more than anyone else. He puts his last few notes on what happens with our colorful cast of characters of the K. And so
well, you don't want to do that, all of that with a K, right then. But you don't do 3 in a row like that.
That's true. Three is a bad number of alliteration to use a K. But
he did do like comic books and stuff. So,
and he was originally a comic book writer, and so he's responsible for some of those comics. And so there's some multimedia stuff. They got multiple games in the mix. It was really at this point, I mean, Mortal Kombat was like a huge success. They were really getting ambitious with it, and I think you could even say it's some of the most ambitious piece of interactive storytelling ever devised.
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me a little bit of like Shadows of the Empire, where like you had this game, but then like they had a novel, and it took place between the first or the second and third Star Wars films.
Yeah, they even had movies for that one.
They did have the Mortal Kombat movies. They had Annihilation come out in
97. Yeah. So I don't know. I think that is pretty cool.
That's like a classic.
I think it's better. I think it's better than people give it credit for.
That's how I feel about Mortal Kombat 4.
I agree. So you did mention the like endings and stuff like that. So we should sort of talk about that. A lot of them, there are some that I had never played this game before, but I had seen of some of the endings, and they were kind of like etched into my mind. And they're especially silly on the Nintendo 64. Do you have a favorite one, McKenna?
There's probably two. Well, the Sonya one where she's just like you see her and is it Jarek, and they're just like standing and having a conversation, and then she just like backs up all the way to a cliff edge and stops, and you're like, what are you doing? And and she they keep
we get one of the greatest quotes in gaming.
What's the quote that you're thinking of?
Where Jarek says,
okay, that's exactly that is the one. Yes. The number one thing that is like burned into my brain for sure.
Yeah, he launches himself at her. She sidesteps.
Yes.
There's using the mechanics of the game. Yeah.
Smart.
Yeah. But a moment later, you find out he's grabbed onto the ledge.
But yeah, there's 2 different endings
There's
involved.
There's 3
in that.
actually.
Oh, really?
Gosh.
There's
Okay.
a Sonya one, a Jarek one, and a Jax one.
Yeah, there's the where Jax is Jax playable? He's playable in the game, right? Okay. Yeah, right. So yeah, there's the one where Jax holds him over. What's he say? Like, you're supposed to arrest
brutality.
me.
And he says, wrong, Jarek. This is not a brutality. This is a fatality.
And he still, when he lets him go, he again goes, bah, bah, bah.
But yeah, in one Sonya gets away.
Oh, really? Yeah. There's 2 where she dies either way. Or I don't know if she dies, but she falls.
I think that's the implication.
I felt that was kind of, well, I assume she comes back later. I guess I don't know. But I don't know how the storyline plays out from there. But is there anything else that stands out for you?
They're generally not too picky about killing off Mortal Kombat characters. They die all the time, really.
At the end of every fight, yeah.
Yeah.
Other than those, any that you remember?
Well, McKenna mentioned the Tanya one, which is also pretty good, with Liu Kang following her down that little hallway, and then he gets ambushed. And then when he tries to do his flying kick at Shinnok, he just blows him up and says, "Fool." What are some other good ones?
Well, you reminded me the one where Liu Kang is like, "Oh, I wish Katana wasn't dead," or whatever, and she shows up. That was the one where the voice acting, like his voice acting, was really bad.
I thought you were gonna, or so that he gets cut off, and it's like this really funny sentence. So it's like, were they recording something else and they just like use that in there? It's quality voice acting, I would say. Also impressive that they have all that on a Nintendo 64 game, cutscenes with voice acting.
Yeah,
you guys are the experts. How common was that, really?
No, we have not seen many that are like the voice clips have been a thing, and we've just played some recently that have like small cutscenes with voice acting that we have coming up. But yeah, like extended scenes are pretty rare, especially like at this one. Like they are just done like with I think the arcade's like this too, where they just kind of do it in engine with the character models or whatever. Because that was something that stood out looking at the PS1 version, which looked pretty similar, but the cutscenes in that they're still using the models, but the scenes are like pre-rendered or whatever you want to say. So they have like a little bit more, like the lighting's a little bit different. They're a bit more cinematic. They're honestly actually like kind of cool. Like the voice acting's still like a little cheesy, but they are like kind of badass in a way. Whereas the cheese factor is more entertaining. It's probably the most entertaining on the Nintendo 64 version because it's worse. You know what I mean? Yeah, the poor hardware wins out in that realm, I guess you could say.
Realm? Yeah, I know a lot of times they would do in Nintendo 64 games, like they would just have voice clips over stills, like Mythology Sub-Zero, I believe, did.
That didn't even have voice clips, actually. It was straight up just stills.
All text, huh?
Yeah. Yep. That was one where for sure the PS1 won out because you got those great live action cutscenes. But yeah, N64, it's pretty rare. Yeah, I don't want to spoil. We do have some games coming up.
Hey everyone, my name's Darren Hupke. I'm a writer, publisher, and podcaster. My podcast is called Pixels and Polygons. Each week I sit down with a guest and ask one simple video game question. It's a random topic each week and it leads to a fun conversation. You can find it on your favorite podcast platform every Friday, and you can read more about it at pixelsandpolygons.net.
I guess I'll briefly mention some of the other versions of this game because it did get a Windows release, which looked pretty similar. I think we were watching gameplay footage and it looked like some of the stages it like didn't have music, but I don't know if that was just a weird quirk of like the video we were watching, but it seemed odd. It did get a Game Boy Color release. Obviously, it's not a port of the game, but Mortal Kombat. There's a history of Mortal Kombat on the Game Boy, and I like that they went for it, at least. But it sounds like one version that people really go to bat for is Mortal Kombat Gold on the Dreamcast. Have you played much of that one, Connor?
I have played it a little bit, and I think, it had, I believe it has some balance patches in it, but it's mostly, because it adds a lot of characters, some of which are really, really good.
Yeah, most of them were like returning characters, right? They had like is it like Cyrax? Is that his name?
Yeah.
Like the cyborg
Yep,
dude.
they got Cyrax in there, yep.
Yeah, I guess speaking of, there are some like hidden characters in this.
Like Noob Saibot and stuff like that.
There's like the meat character, which is just like the model where people lose their skin as like a character. We didn't really, well, one thing I'll say, just one last thing I have on the 3D aspect was that I like I said, didn't end up using the sidestepping, but I did end up remapping my controls because the N64 it has like the 6 button sort of layout. And I'm pretty sure in Mortal Kombat Trilogy, they had on the top, I think it was on the top 2 buttons where your run and your block, unless I'm mistaken. Whereas in this, they put them in the middle row or the middle column, you could say. And I actually, maybe I just noticed this more because I learned more special techniques from playing Mortal Kombat Mythology Sub-Zero. So again, thanks to that game for teaching me these special moves. But Sub-Zero's slide, you have to hit back, block, and the 2 low attacks. And so now on the N64 controller, it's like C left, A, and C. It's like a really weird button combination you have to hit that was like much more doable on the other versions of the game. So I remapped the controls. I was like, I'm not using the sidestep. So I made L and R block and run. And I just made like the 2 columns, like my low and punch and high punch, low kick, high kick. So I could just with my thumb press the 2 buttons. And that was good. And I put like on the upper C buttons, my side steps in case I needed them, but I just kind of ignored them and played it like I would Mortal Kombat 2 or 3. And I found that much more enjoyable and much more natural to just have block like on L and run on R or whatever. I can't remember which it was, but yeah.
Well, yeah. And McKenna alluded to it earlier too. Like a lot of people like consider this game just to be another, an extension of like Mortal Kombat Trilogy or Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3. Like it's Mortal Kombat with a run, the way that you like approach people. There's no dash. So the way you approach people is kind of the same. And a lot of the moves are kind of the same. And generally people consider this to be one of it might be considered like the worst mainline Mortal Kombat entry. That's not my personal opinion. I happen to like a lot of the visual design of the game, and I think those endings are just really,
they're iconic.
It's a great reward for getting to the end of the arcade mode, is it not?
Yeah, definitely.
But even something like people talk about like Reptile's look in this game, like him looking kind of whack. I think he looks awesome. I think Liu Kang's fashion is on point with his nice little red tank top deal.
Yeah, I did think the Reptile design, I thought that was cool just because, I've always thought like that it was cool that they got a lot out of just palette swapping, the ninjas or like your katana or whatever. But I did think it was cool they gave him like his own unique look, and it wasn't just like, oh, he's like the green Scorpion Sub-Zero or whatever. So not my favorite looking character in the game or anything, but yeah, I thought like, yeah, make him look more reptilian. Why wouldn't you? Okay, one mechanic we didn't really talk about too much was the weapons. I guess you mentioned the weapons, Connor. We're done with the baby shit. We've got weapons now. I thought that was kind of cool, like both and on top of that, kind of like things you could pick up in the arena. I think they were going for like with 3, they added the run, and there's people who have mixed feelings about it, but I feel like it's a pretty simple addition into it that is easy to sort of wrap your head around and make sense. The weapons, you have to kind of do like a combo to pull out the weapons, and it makes it maybe a little bit more, I don't know, unwieldy than, like, less intuitive, I guess. I get what they're going for, but and it was satisfying when you got to use one or pick up an opponent's one. But I don't know, McKenna, what do you think? Like, you didn't really get too much into using the weapons, right?
Yeah, I was thinking about it a little bit, and I think because, we were trying to try out different characters, and different characters have different inputs, it's like, oh, I gotta like stop and figure out what that is. Like, it made me not want to use those as much. But maybe if you're maining a character and you just like, oh yeah, I know what I have to do to get this weapon out, I might use it more often. I did. There was one time where somebody dropped a weapon and I picked it up and started using it.
You can like throw them too.
Yeah. So it's a nice little extra thing, but I still mostly just play it with the regular moves.
Yeah. It's cool and all, but yeah, when we watched and of course you have to like hype things up, but like we watched some promotional video they released for it, and they were like, the weapons are going to innovate fighting games in a way you've never seen before. And to me, they feel more just like the run again. I feel like kind of more naturally, like that feels like an innovation that you would keep around. It's still here. Whereas like the weapons feel like more of a tacked on sort of gimmick. Connor, I don't know. How do you feel about the weapons in the game?
Yeah, I see it as just that, a gimmick, and I don't know if that's necessarily the popular opinion, but I just am like, either it takes too long to get them out. It's like a risk. You can get hit, and if you get hit while you have them, you drop them. So I'm like, stealing them from someone else is cool, and that's satisfying. But like, yeah, I don't. I think it depends on the character. For some characters, it's more useful than others too. So I end up not using it that much.
I would sometimes like, I never got this down to it was like a regular strategy or anything. And maybe if I was playing against other people more, I'd develop, more interesting strategies. I don't know, but I would like, I'm mainly playing a Sub-Zero. And so I'd like freeze people, and while they're frozen, pull out the weapon and hit them with it. And I'm like, I don't know if that's more effective than just like hitting them another way, but it would be fun to hit them because you'd whack them off the 2D plane, and they go sideways. And so it felt pretty impactful, and like throwing an item to them reminded me it's like as satisfying as like when you pick up, like if you pick up like an item you're meant to use in like Super Smash Brothers, but instead you throw it at them and it hits them and sends them flying. It just had like a nice impactful feel to it. But yeah, I kind of wish it was more like a button. I know you and I at your house once played like a Mortal Kombat game where you pick different like styles. Could you even change them mid-fight? I don't recall.
Yeah, that's the next one. Mortal Kombat 5 Deadly Alliance allows you to pick 3 different weapon styles, and each character has 3 different fighting styles, and the third fighting style is a weapon.
Okay, could you change them mid-fight, or was it?
Yeah, and you can combo into the different fighting style, yeah.
So maybe
it's like a stance.
So maybe I'm discrediting the weapons like a little bit, because they did like the run, they did like find a way to incorporate it into the next game, but to me it sounds like the more like where I think the run in 3 works the way it works in 4 in a lot of ways, and it's like there's not much you do to tweak it. Like this feels like, and I believe even they admitted it. Like I think Ed, I think I saw like an interview with Ed Boon. I think it was we did the Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection, which has all this great documentary footage. And I think in one of the interviews, Ed Boon said like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't have made the weapons so like as hidden, like maybe if it was like a button or something like that, that would be better. And that's kind of how I feel. Like if you could just like more easily on the fly, maybe you switch and then it has like a different gameplay style mid battle. That would be cool, but it's an interesting idea, and it doesn't, you can like the 3D, you can sort of ignore it if you want to. I don't know if that's like an endorsement of the mechanic, but I think there's something like, I'm sure for some people, if they're really into that, it's good.
Yeah, they're not shoving
yeah.
swords down your throat. Because then
Exactly.
you'd be a sword swallower.
You mentioned like that this might be considered the worst mainline game, and I saw like when I was like I was looking for other footage and stuff like that. Like, well, actually, I'll slip in. We watched like some great footage they did of like a promotional tour they did where they traveled to different arcades, even some in our area because they're in the Chicagoland area. But trying to look up more stuff about it, interviews and stuff like that, I did get a lot of suggestions of, your YouTube video essay and stuff like that. They're like, is this really the worst game in the series, or is this game better than you remember? And there was a lot of talk of like, oh, this is a more maligned game in the series. But like looking back at reviews of the game, like are all mostly like positive. Like, right, McKenna, you were reading some reviews. I don't know. Like, did you get a sense of anything from that?
Yeah, I think the like overall people just thought like the gameplay was good, but it just wasn't like new and innovative really. Mm-hmm. And like the 3D isn't novel anymore. The violence isn't novel, and it's even like it feels less impactful in this game.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's people, they didn't think it was bad. They just didn't think it was like this great, like the best new thing. And I know specifically with the PlayStation 1, I saw someone say, on a system that has a ton of great fighting games, this doesn't stand out.
Yeah. Maybe that just speaks to the unhelpfulness of just like a review score, because like a lot of things were like gave it like 80% or whatever, and it's like maybe that's just like there's sort of this, I don't know, I was thinking of like like the recent Metroid Prime game, for example, was one that you look at that, it got a similar score, but it's like a polarizing game. Or like there was back in when Skyward Sword came out, there was someone who gave it like a 7, and it was like this huge controversy. So maybe that's like Mortal Kombat is like that sort of thing at this time, where it's like a big franchise. So like one that everyone was like so excited for. So like the fact that the newest game wasn't like the greatest game ever made probably made it was probably more polarizing. I don't know, what's your take from like someone who knows more of the ins and outs of the series, Connor?
Yeah, I think you're right. It had name recognition. They had that big road tour before it was released, and I think actually McKenna summarized it really well. I pretty much agree with everything said there. The only thing that I was thinking about is that you also have to consider that it is an arcade port, and this is the end of arcades. Mm-hmm. This was like one of the last big arcade releases before they became like, they completely, changed, this is as home consoles really starting to take off a lot more. So I think also people were thinking like the way you play an arcade game is a little bit different than you play a home console game. And I think when the Nintendo 64 was first out, it was like that adds to the novelty too. You mentioned the violence and those sort of qualities, but also it's like, whoa, I can play this game in the arcade at my house. That's awesome. But now like that doesn't really, I think by 1998, 1999, it doesn't really have the same meaning.
Yeah, probably, especially once Dreamcast comes out. I think that's like the first one that's real.
Then we're going online.
Yeah. It's like this is the new millennium we're heading towards. So did the next, I mean, I guess I could look it up, but did the next Mortal Kombat come out in arcades, or was that?
No.
Okay.
This was the last Mortal Kombat for arcades. End of an era.
So it's like, yeah, an end of an era for us for multiple reasons. Because I think this was maybe, I want to say it was kind of like the Midway's 3D fighting game experiment perfected, but it really just sounds like they kind of just found like the best possible route to make Mortal Kombat, but with 3D characters because you kind of had to at the time. I guess that's probably worth mentioning. I think if they had made a Mortal Kombat 4 with the 2D sprites at the time, or like that sort of technology, people would have been like, what is this garbage? You know, like the wider audience. So while we kind of like that appeal, like at the time, that certainly wouldn't have flown, I don't think. I don't know, McKenna, any other thoughts you had on Mortal Kombat 4?
I don't think so.
Yeah, it's not your kind of game, but
no,
as we've discussed,
we had fun watching the fatalities.
We talked about some of them, but were there
specific one that stood out?
I liked that there were ones that incorporated the stages, like throwing someone into the fan. That was cool. Anyone that results in, I think the ones that had the most impact in this version, where it's like polygonal characters, were like ones where they exploded.
Oh, they all had like multiple camera angles going on.
Yeah, that's
a little
good.
Cinematic. I like the like acid dissolving. Yeah, so which was the made the meat hidden.
Yeah, the meat, you get the meat head.
Yeah,
that was pretty good. Yeah.
I also like the skeleton. There's two. The skeleton crushing. That was Shinnok's fatalities.
Okay, I don't quite remember.
Yeah, one was the skeleton, the hand crushing someone, and the other was the two hands clapping to.
That was yeah.
That was a explodey one, kind of, I guess.
I like Raiden's where he like electrocutes people till they explode. Were pretty cool.
Yeah, I could do without all the violence.
It's traumatizing. The kids might see it, you know.
Although I do like the screen, the continue screen.
Oh God! Thank you for mentioning that. Yeah, where they're like,
you're falling endlessly down the well.
Yeah, I was thinking about that earlier.
We watched a video that was comparing the different versions. Like they'd like do a wipe, and it would show one version and the other, which was also very funny because they do it sometimes and it'd cut to the Game Boy version. It's like, this is not even but there was one screen on that where it showed the 4 like 3D versions of the well falling at the same time. And there was something so I can't even put it into words. There was something so like captivating about that, watching that at the same time. I don't know why. It's a great animation.
The synchronicity.
It was beautiful. It's poetry in motion. Yeah.
Synchronized diving.
Kind of makes you want to dive right in a little bit, doesn't it?
The well's not so bad. Looking at the world, everything's going on out there. Put me in the well.
You said it.
Well,
let me ask you guys this. Now that you've gone through the entire Mortal Kombat trilogy for the Nintendo 64, how do you rank them?
Oh, okay. That's interesting. And we're not counting the first 2 games, which are like the actual first 2 Mortal Kombat games, because they're not on there. Even though they're like
trilogy and Mythology, Sub-Zero, and then this one, right?
I haven't thought about how I would. I mean, I think Sub-Zero is the most interesting one to me. Like, but I think it's not a game I
the
enjoy.
Least fun one too.
Yeah,
I don't enjoy playing it really, but I enjoyed the act of playing it for this show. But like I would not like want to sit down and like play it over and over. I think. I don't know. We'll see when we'll eventually put our little scores on the game and see how it compares. But just off the top of my head, I feel like I would rather play the third one just because it like
trilogy. You mean?
Yeah. Sorry, Mortal Kombat trilogy. I think I would rather play that one just because the things that this one adds are superfluous. I can still kind of play in the same way, but I think like the characters look cooler in that one. This has
your babies and your animals is what it is.
It makes me feel safe. It's like my blankie, you know. I like the settings in this one more, but I but otherwise, like the game, it's marginal though. I think they're comparably fun. What do you think, McKenna?
I'd probably have to go back and replay some Trilogy, because that was like the first thing that was very early on, and I was not used to playing fighting games at all, and I think I probably struggled with it more than I would now.
Mm-hmm.
I think I might enjoy that one more than this one, even though I probably had an easier time playing Corr.
Mm-hmm.
Just having more fighting game experience.
Yeah,
now.
actually, well, as a follow-up question to that, then, well, I don't know. Is that your answer? You don't know. You don't know.
Yeah, I think I have maybe more fondness for Trilogy. I do like the digitized fighters.
My follow-up question is, after playing all the variety of like fighting games that we've played and stuff, like, do you have more of an appreciation for like these Mortal Kombat games we've played? Like, I don't even think I would consider them like, I don't even think I would consider Mortal Kombat like the greatest fighting game like of all, like series of all time. Like, in fact, I think in any generation, it compared to its contemporary, it's like clearly worse in my opinion. But I think there's a reason why people love it, and I think there is a lot to love about it. But likewise, its contemporaries on the Nintendo 64, not all of them, but I think a lot of them, it beats out by a lot. So I was wondering, like, maybe if you felt that way. Like I said, I could kind of tell this was better than, War Gods or Dark Rift, but did that translate to you?
Yeah, I think probably in its just basic gameplay, I definitely appreciate that Mortal Kombat over a lot of these other ones. If I had to choose a game to play, I'm probably gonna go with something that's got some extra going on in its gameplay, like Biofreaks.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Even though it's a little wonky.
So that's a classic, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean,
did you two both like? So you're beating all these games, right?
I didn't beat Biofreaks. No, the final boss of that was impossible. But
did you guys make it through arcade on this one?
Yeah, I said, I did. Yeah, I got through it. Like I said, just cheesing Goro. Like, I had to do that, but I did it on like the easiest setting, so it was not too. You can make the game pretty easy.
Yeah, I just went through it too the one time with Liu Kang, and then I just looked up all the arcade endings online.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I played around with the different characters and stuff, but
who'd you guys like? Oh, McKenna said, who are you playing as?
Me? Oh, I was doing Sub-Zero just because I felt like this is kind of a generic choice.
You said too, because you remembered some of the moves from Mortal Kombat mythologies. Yeah, that's great.
They need to do more games like that so they could teach you the moves.
That's great synergy. Yeah,
it was awesome. Yeah, I thought, if I'm really reaching for a fighting game on the N64, it's one we talked to you about, but I'm probably gonna go for Killer Instinct still. That I feel like had the best gameplay, and it married the 2D. It was like 2D game, but like kind of a 3D environment. But Cutter, I guess I'll ask you, out of these three games, like what the three Mortal Kombat games on N64, how would you rank them?
Yeah, I think I agree. I think the consensus is Trilogy, and then this one, and then Mortal Kombat Mythology Sub-Zero. Even though it's cool that was such an ambitious game.
Yeah.
It's not fun to play, unfortunately. And I like I kind of agree with you. I kind of like the look of this one. At least in terms of like the colors and the set design, if you will. But like Trilogy,
I would say this is a good game. Like, you
could do a lot worse for fighting games on the Nintendo 64. I think certainly,
absolutely. That's definitely something you could learn from our show, I would say. Also, I don't think you said. Did you have a favorite fatality, Connor?
I like Liu Kang's because I can do it. Is it Tanya, the one where she like jumps on the guy's head and then just like twists it around?
Yes.
That one's pretty good too.
There were a few that did not make sense, which is not like out of the.
Those are preferred. Oh, they can't all have the logic of giant skeleton hands coming out of the ground and clapping someone to death.
What was
we were trying to figure out Sonya's. She just like did splits, and we were like, "How is she like holding the person with her feet?"
Yeah, no, she picks him up and then like goes on like a handstand or something, and then rips him in half with her legs. But her legs are just like going in opposite directions.
Yes, exactly. Doesn't make any sense.
Maybe if she has some type of adhesive on like the inside of her pant leg, a really strong adhesive.
Yeah, that could be it. Okay, Connor, anything else you wanted to say about Mortal Kombat 4?
Well, I wanted to talk to you. I did purchase this game specifically for this conversation, so I kept the receipt. I don't know. Should I just email send a fax or scan it in for you? Or, we can talk about it later, I guess.
The crushing pound of the mallet. The shattering blow of the club. The slashing edge of the blade. They call to you.
How about this? Next game to come in our timeline is a big one. It's actually the next episode in the 1998 chronology. It's going to be my 8th birthday that we'll be reaching, and the game released is Banjo-Kazooie.
I'm not familiar with that one.
Okay, yeah, it's kind of a deep cut, I know. No one has been too interested in that one. So
yeah, I hope you guys bring a xylophone player on to talk about that one.
Yeah, good luck finding a song on that soundtrack without one. Well, cool, Connor. Thank you so much for coming back on the show. Anything you would like to promote?
Oh yeah, sure. Well, if you'd like to listen to JFK Health World featuring Gooey over here, you can find us online at your traditional streaming services. But our band is also going to be playing on July 11th at the Burlington in Chicago and August 15th at the Cubby Bear right across from Wrigley Field. And then if you want to come and check out some wrestling, I'll be at Ultimate Combat Gauntlet July 10th and August 7th at Beaufils Barbecue in Oak Forest, Illinois, July 24th and August 28th at Magoo's in Bedford Park, Illinois, right by Midway Airport. And if just one person who listens to your podcast comes to just one of those events, that entire spiel will have all been worth it.
Yeah, if we don't get anyone, I'll feel like this has been a failure. And what's the point of
how do you think I'll feel?
Hopefully you get that flashback bump. By the time, this is going to come out and you're become world champion. So, and the #1 recording artist in the music industry. So,
a gold record and a gold belt.
Thanks everyone for listening. You can catch us, all our stuff at flashback64.com. Check out other podcasts on our podcast network at soundstone.network. We have Triforce tier patron Lee. Thank you so much. Patreon.com/flashback64. McKenna, great job today.
Great job, Goop.
And we'll see everybody for Banjos. I was going to say Banjo 64. Banjo-Kazooie. Gaha. Bye.
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 Flawless victory.
Hello, we are Kirby Conversations, a podcast on Kirby along with adjacent subjects like Smash Brothers, HAL Laboratory, and other related Nintendo games.
In each episode, we take an in-depth look at a new Kirby topic, drawing on our decades of experience with the series. I'm Sean Douglas. I'm a writer and podcaster with a background in video game and theater journalism.
And I'm Gigi, the editor-in-chief of Kirby and a big Kirby fan from Brazil. I translate Kirby interviews from Japanese to English and research a bunch of obscure Kirby media.
And I'm Bridget, a longtime fan, commentator, fan artist, and Kirby collector.
Join us for a mix of commentary and original reporting, deep dives into Kirby history, interviews with industry professionals, and more, as together we explore all things Kirby and HAL Laboratory. We're a proud part of the Soundstone Podcast Network, and you can find Kirby Conversations on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.